Hello and welcome, my organized friends. In this video, I will share with you how to set up this travel planner that I made. The reason why I created this travel planner in the first place was because I was so tired of having all of my travel information all over the place. So for example, some of the things were saved on my Instagram or TikTok, some of the things were saved on my notes app, some of the things I could find in my email or my boyfriend's email. So this spreadsheet summarizes all of that in one single file. And the best part about it, in my personal opinion, is that you can share it with other people you're traveling with. So everyone's on the same page. You can plan your itinerary together. Each person can add shared expenses to the file, and everyone's aware when are the travel dates and when is the flight. So without further ado, let me show you how it works. So once you open the spreadsheet, this is the first tab you're going to see, and over here you can access the instructions video you're watching now if you need a little refresh on how some of the things work. And here you also have the possibility to highlight editable cells. So how this works is, let's tick this box, and once ticked, all of the cells that you can manually edit, not to accidentally delete any important formulas, are going to be highlighted in this dusty pink color. Now let's move on to the overview tab. So in this tab, you'll be able to see a complete summary of your trip. Over here, let's start by adding the country that we're going to be traveling to. And once done, that country is going to appear in this map. I will also add Italy and Croatia. So you can add up to 5 countries and they will appear in this map. Currently the map is in a world view, but if you wanted to show you a specific region like Europe or Asia or wherever you're traveling to, you can double click on the map, go to custom, geo, and then for region, select the region that you would like to see. In my case, it's going to be Europe. And as you can see, now we get a little more of a close-up for the map. And next we want to select our trip length. So you can just double click in the cell or write the date manually. And as for travelers, just add how many people are traveling or how many kids, pets. And here you want to write down your total budget for the trip. This currency conversion table is a neat little feature I added. So over here, you can see how much something costs in your local currency. So for example, if you're traveling from the United States to Europe, so where we have euros, you can add an amount in dollars and it's going to give you the equivalent of that amount in euros and vice versa. So it's super simple when you're looking up activities online and they give you the price in the currency that is used at that destination. It's super simple to use this table to find out the price in your currency. Here we have this countdown, so this is super cool. You can see how many days are left until your trip. And over here we have a task progress table and this expense breakdown, but we're going to talk about those a little bit later. And on the right hand side here we have this bucket list table that you can fill out with all of the things you want to try at your destination country. I am traveling to Greece really soon, so this bucket list is very highly inspired by Greece. So to try souvlaki, see Acropolis, and once you have done that thing, you can just tick the box and it will strike through. Now we're done with this trip overview tab. Let's move on to the bookings tab. Over here, you can add all of the reservations you have made for your trip. So let's say we are writing down our flight information, flight reservations. So you can write down the date, where you're traveling from, where you're going, add your airline. For time, you want to use this structure. So either you can write 1:00 for 1 a.m. or 13:00 for 1 p.m. or just type 1:00 p.m. for 1 p.m. The duration is going to calculate automatically. Also, you have the opportunity to select next day arrival if you're taking a red eye. So that is going to automatically change the duration of your flight. Then you can add your price per seat, seats booked, extra costs, and you will see the total cost, and also add your booking number. As for the link, here you have two options. You can either right click on the link emoji and insert a link and then paste it over here and click apply, or you can just delete this emoji and double click inside the cell and paste in your link. As for accommodations, the logic is very similar. So write down the name of the place you're staying at, what's the type, the address, contact information, check-in date, check-in time, the same way as we did in the flights table, checkout date, checkout time, total price, and how many guests are staying, and then price per guest and price per night is going to be calculated automatically. As for activities, again, something very similar. Add the name of the activity, what's the company provider, meeting point, contact information, when is the activity taking place, what is the start time, duration of the activity, whether there is a cancellation policy and what is it, the price of the activity, and how many people are participating. And the total cost is going to automatically be calculated. And as for car rental and transportation, it's the same logic. So let's now move on to the itinerary tab. And over here, you only have to add the first date of your trip, and the rest of the dates are going to automatically calculate. So this itinerary page is made for 15 days in total, but if you need more, just reach out to me and we will figure something out. And then as for location, you just want to type in where you'll be during that date. And in these big cells, you can insert images that encompass that day. So go to insert image, insert an image in the cell, browse and choose your image. This is just going to make your itinerary so much more colorful, so much more visually appealing. So I highly suggest doing this for each of the days you're traveling. And as for the itinerary itself, over here you can just fill out what activity you want to do at what time. So let's say my flight to Athens is from 12 p.m. until 3 p.m. But of course you can change the times in the time column. It doesn't have to stay fixed. So for example, let's say my flight is at 12:30 p.m. and then I'm arriving at 3:25 p.m. So you can change it however you'd like. Let's say I want to go and see Acropolis at 6 p.m. and I want to be there until 9 p.m. So 3 hours in total, but you can again customize the time column as much as you'd like. So for example, if you don't want to use this structure, you can just write 12:30 p.m. until 3:25 p.m. and delete the rest of the time cells, and you can structure your itinerary this way. Now let's move on to the budget tab, and over here you can select the currency, your currency that you use for all of the purchases. And here you can write down all of the people that you're going to be traveling with and that you will potentially share expenses with. So here I'm just writing some fictional names, and this budget number is sourced from the overview tab from this total budget table. So let's now move on to the expense planner, and here you want to add all of the categories that you want to categorize your expenses in. So some examples are flights, accommodations, activities, food, drinks, and you can also add budget for each. And as you add these budget amounts, you will see that the left to budget chart is also going to automatically update to showcase how much money you have remaining in your budget and how much you have already budgeted for each of these categories. So as for the expense tracker, here you want to write down all of the amounts you have actually spent. So let's say on 16th of September, 400 euros were spent on flights. Also, you can use the drop down to select the category or just type it out and then pick it. And let's say Feyre paid for it let's say again on the 16th of September, 50 euros were allocated towards drinks, and Resand paid for that. In this chart, amount by payer, you can easily see which is the person who has spent the most, and also in the left to spend chart, you can see how much of the budget is already spent and how much is remaining. And in this expense planner, in case you have overspent your budget, you will see that amount in a red color. And you can also see the total actual spending amount in this total budget table. Now let's move on to the checklist tab. So over here, you can write down your to-do list. So we have well in advance table where you can add all of the information, all of the things you need to do well in advance before your trip. So it's like booking flight tickets and booking accommodation for the destination you're going to. And you can also see a summary of how many tasks are in progress and how many are completed. And you can do the same for week before departure and day before departure, and then also on departure day. And now let's head back to the overview tab. And over here, you will see in this task progress table, progress of your checklist tab. Here you can see how many things you have done and how many things are still left to do for each category. And also, as we filled out the budget tab, we can see the expense breakdown for all of our categories, comparing budget to actual spending. Now let's move on to the packing list. And over here in this first big cell, you want to add the name of the traveler. And at the top, you can see passport, ID card, and boarding pass, which are the most important things to pack. And in the bags to pack table, you can add all of the bags you want to pack for the trip. So for example, check-in bag, carry-on, and personal item. And then there are 5 tables in total for all the items that you want to pack. Choose the bag that you want to pack it in, and also type the quantity of each item. And once you have packed that item in its corresponding bag, you can just tick the packed tick box, and the progress bar at the top is also going to update. In total, you can fill out the packing list for 6 people. Lastly, let's move on to the research tabs. So accommodations, activities, car, rental, research. So how this table works is here you can add the link to the accommodation that you're considering for your trip. You can also insert the image. As for type, you can just write Airbnb or hotel or apartment, where it is located, the address, what is the total price, and how many guests are staying, and the price per person is going to be calculated automatically. And then as for the comments, you can just type down, for example, it's quite small, but will do. And here is a little fun voting system. So for example, if you're like a lot of people traveling and it's really hard to understand which hotel or which Airbnb to choose, each person can vote. You can change guest 1 to guest 6 to represent the names of the travelers. And then you can see the result on the right-hand side of the voting table. And it's much easier to select your accommodations this way. And then once you've booked it, or once you have decided that you want to book it, you can just tick the box and it will be highlighted. And the same thing applies for the activities table and also the car rental tab. And that is how this travel planner works. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comment section. And I hope to catch you in one of my next videos. Bye guys!